I was supposed to record this. So the first one, this is directly from the rules. And like I said, when you touch the king and then the rook, if it is legal to castle on that side, you have to do that. So this is the best. Obviously, this is wrong. There's no legal move for the. You don't have to. It says clearly in the laws, right? It doesn't say you have to move the rook. So the first answer A is wrong because of the rook part. He must make a legal move with the king is correct, but castling is the priority. It clearly says if you touch the king and rook and castling on that side is legal, he has to castle. So this is B is not complete. Uh, E is obviously wrong. You can't touch something and then say I adjust. You have to first say before adjusting, you have to say. He must make a legal move with the king. Yes, but it's incomplete. This is the best answer. If there is no legal move, this is correct, but here it doesn't say the rook you can't castle. If this part was there, D is the answer, right? So you will be getting many kind of questions. There'll be some questions from pairings. There'll be some questions from general knowledge. You might, I don't know. Last time or some time ago, I think they asked who was the current national champion. They asked, I think it was the year Oshini got the title. They asked something about Oshini. So they will ask some relevant current knowledge. If you're interested in chess, you have to kind of have idea. I think they asked the year FIDE was founded when FIDE celebrated the 100th anniversary, that year's exam paper. They asked the year FIDE was founded. So those are reasonable questions. There'll be some general knowledge questions, right? Now, this is a question from the games, a situation that has occurred in a game. Uh, since this might take a little longer, I'll give you until normally you're supposed to take 3 minutes. I'll give you until my clock this time reaches 15. You have roughly about 3.5 minutes. Try to figure out the answer. Then I'll tell you something what to think later. I won't even ask you to raise your hands on the Zoom because it's not practical for me to check whether everyone has got it right. You write down your answer. When I tell the correct answer, you mark it. Maybe end of the session, you will see if how many marks you got, right? Don't worry too much, even if you get everything wrong. The idea here is to learn how to do it correctly. Uh, hope your guys' internet connections are working because I have people getting disconnected and connecting again. So, okay. Here, there are two types of questions that can normally be asked. One is directly the law or the rule. The other type of question is where the law is applied, where you are given a situation. Now, when you are doing a question, you have to understand like there'll be a story, but you have to take in the key details. For some of the questions, the additional story is kind of a distraction. You only have to take certain important facts. Now, in this, the move number, it's not important, obviously. It's black to move. That is important, obviously. And it's black's turn and black asks for a queen. Now, this is a question that checks whether you know when the choice of the promotion piece is finalized. And it's directly there in the laws of chess. Promotes upon the choice of the piece is finalized when piece has touched the square of the promotion. So in this, he takes the black queen, but he moves the pawn to d1, removes the pawn, and keeps a knight. The queen never touched d1. And here, of course, this is interesting because there are two pawns that can promote, right? So obviously, you take d1, pawn here promotes, rook takes, pawn takes, queen here will be checkmate or rook check, king moves here. There'll be a checkmate very quickly, right? Double check and queen here would be mate. right? So because of that, black obviously can't promote here with the queen. Black needs the check to be a knight, the promotion to give a check. Otherwise, he's going to lose the game. So, of course, as an arbiter, the result doesn't matter. Like, you can't think like that. I just explained the situation. From a chess point of view, the rules point of view, the pawn, it doesn't matter if two pawns are there to promote. You can ask for any queen, and black can even make a king move if it's legal. You can ask for the queen. He's not obliged. Black can ask for the queen and then even move the king. That is perfectly fine. But normally, as a procedure, you normally request, once you move the pawn, you can ask for the piece you want, right? But even if you ask for the piece, black is not obliged to keep that piece. He The choice is not finalized by asking, it's finalized simply by keeping the piece. Once the piece touches the promotion square, after you pick up the piece, as long as you don't touch it on the promotion square, the player who promotes can change his or her mind. So that is what's, whether you understand, that is what is being tested here. Black has to choose a queen? Obviously not. You can't say black can choose any piece he wants since the queen did not touch the promotion square is wrong, because the knight touched. Obviously, it has to be black can. This is wrong because again it says okay, this is entirely wrong because he asked for the queen first, yes, but afterwards he touched the d pawn, so the touch move is there for the d pawn. Black, the best answer, right? This to extent sense, you can say any piece because the queen didn't touch the promotion square is correct. But you can't say any piece simply because the knight touched. So the best answer is E, right? This is partially true. B is a partial truth, but this is the correct answer, right? So E is the correct answer. This is a good example of what I told you about recognizing the story and the thing. Uh, go through the question, look very carefully, and write the answer, decide the answer. Again, I'll give you until about 23, 24, until my watch time touches 24. I'll give you time. Figure out the answer, guys. Over 250 people have registered for the exam. So, okay, guys, don't send me the answer, right? Because for me, it's not practical to discuss. Question number two. Okay, sure. Give me a moment. We'll discuss this, then go back, right? Sure. The answer is you have to choose a knight because the knight touched the promotion square, right? I can't remember. I think it was E. I can't remember the exact answer, the letter, but the answer would be choosing the knight because the knight touched the promotion square. Guys, don't think of like you will not be getting the same questions. You'll be getting the same questions, but the numbers would be different. For some of you, if you won't get this question, but if for one of you this might be number 3, for someone else this might be number 8 or something else, right? There are multiple sets of exam questions being prepared, same questions, but the orders would be different. He didn't move the knight, but okay, we'll come back to that again. You have to read the question clearly. He didn't move the knight, but he touched the knight on the promotion square, right? But I'm disturbing the others, right? I'll give you 1 minute, then we'll come back. All these are, okay, we'll discuss this, right? Okay, all these are practical questions. Things that happened in recent tournaments, some of those questions will be coming from there. And this something that happens, right? Black is losing, white is losing. White could probably resign a long time ago, and but people play on, and now it's one after queen g6. At 1 second it looks like it'll be checkmate. Next move, king moves, queen h6 or queen h7 or queen g3 would be checkmate, right? But the problem is the king can't move to f3. It is stalemate. Now black played queen g6, and then white resigned, right? Then he yells it's stalemate. There's a question that asks whether you know how a game ends, right? This covers Article 5, ending of a game, completion of a game, right? The game is won by a player who has checkmated his or her opponent. This immediately ends the game, but this is not checkmate. The game is lost by the player who declares she resigns. This immediately ends the game unless the position is such that the opponent cannot checkmate in any possible series of legal moves. In this case, the result is a game is a draw, right? This means that, for example, I have a rook and a king. My opponent has a king, and for some reason I resign. The game is draw, right? That's the final part says. Of course, it's not a practical situation where I have a king and rook. Why I would resign? But if I resign, my opponent can't get the full point. So that's what this says. It's a draw, right? But obviously, a game is lost by a player who declares she resigns. But again, that's not what we are talking. It's this one. The game is drawn when the player have to move has no legal move and his or her king is not in check. The game is said to end in a stalemate. This immediately ends the game provided the move produced in the stalemate position which was in accordance with Article 3 and Article 4247. Meaning you have to be able to make the moves legal. You can't move a queen like a knight and claim a stalemate, or you can't violate the touch move rules and claim a stalemate. Here, it doesn't say anything about the touch moves or anything. This only says white played king h4, black played queen g6. Then white resigned. Which happened first? Queen g6 happened first. So when queen g6 happened, it is stalemate. This immediately ends the game, right? It doesn't say anything about this. If this happened first and then black moved, say black is about to move, black is touching the piece, white says I resign, and black then makes the move. When white says I resign, the game is over because this immediately ends the game, provided this part. Of course, and here, of course, if white says white resigns, he loses because black has enough material to make. But here, black moved first, made the stalemate first. So the game has to be draw. But of course, there are certain things. Now, things that happen in tournaments is sometimes players agree on a checkmate. We normally tell the players, don't break the board, ask the arbiter. The arbiter will look at the board and give the result. But sometimes happens, people break the board, sign the record sheets and give the result and go. The arbiter has no way to, with the board broken, the arbiter has no way to know what exactly happened. Later, they analyze the game, maybe with the coach, with the parent. They come back and say the result is wrong. It was actually stalemate. So this kind of checks whether you know how to deal with that kind of situation, right? It doesn't say anything about the players signing the. Now, they're asking what is the result you will put down in the result sheet. It doesn't say anything about the players signing the record sheets or the score sheets. This is a good answer. If both players did not sign the record sheets, it's a game should be a draw. If they have signed, then again it depends. But normally, if they have finalized the result, including the arbiter, like normally the result sheet is considered complete when both players and the arbiter, all three sign. If all of them have signed and then they discover there might be issue, draw as stalemate. This is the best answer, right? Because it doesn't say anything about this is wrong. Black resigned and this immediately ends the game, but the result is not 0-1, right? And this is wrong. If white did not sign, yes, white is the one who said resigning, but just because white signs the record sheet, it's not complete. You need the player and the arbiter. And that's why this is also wrong because it says both players. Normally in chess, we need the arbiter's signature as well. And this is a bluff. This is just a question answer put there to make up the number 5, right? This is 0f and 1f means, or You sometimes get this like this. These are ways of putting down walkovers or forfeits. So it's not that, right? So the best answer here for me is this, right? This is close, but here, because the arbiter's signature is not there for me, this is not the best answer. This is the best answer. Uh, because for one, stalemate immediately ends the game. So after that, even if the reason why the signature part is there is because you want the players to discover it, not the coach or the parent, right? That comes under outside influence. We'll just go back for a moment. Someone has asked, there was no knight move. The knight didn't move, but see, knight keeps the knight on the d1 square. So the knight touches the promotion square, right? It says the choice of piece is finalized when the piece has touched. You can't obviously move the promoted piece, right? So here it says black must choose the knight, not move the knight. So the answer is E. So sometimes you would get, like, this is the question. Sometimes you would get things like in a youth game with such and such a time control. Those things you don't need except to recognize what kind of a game, whether it's a rapid game or blitz game. Both of those normally have under inadequate supervision rapid rules, or whether it's a standard game where the competition rules apply. You just need to look at the time control if it's given to understand what kind of rules are applying, whether standard competition rules or the rapid rules under inadequate supervision, right? Okay, we'll go to number 4. There's a question again asking you something from the rules, but part of it is practical, right? In the touch move section of the rules about moving the pieces, making of the move, Article 4, there are situations where you are allowed a player, because force a player to do something, a certain thing. Question is asked where a player can change his move. There's one instance where you can change the move. Just asking that question. This doesn't take too long. You read through the answers. I'll give you until 9:36. Paper will be in English, so you'll have to think of the answers in English here. For one reason, all the international exams, FIDE Arbiter, all of those are in English.
Shahani. Sashini. Arya Sashini.
Can you banana?
दिल की हिल කියන්නේ කොළඹකට ආපු ගායත්‍රි ශාන්ති සාර කවින්දු.
This is again, part of it is, this is from the touch move rules. When the player has released the king from his hand during castling, but castling on that side is illegal, obviously he can change, because the simple thing is we can't tell a player to make illegal move. You touch the rook on a1 at the start of the game, there is no touch move because you can't move the rook. So but also you have to be very careful. Both A and B are the same, except A has these two extra letters, right? If you don't look carefully, both this looks exactly the same except for this illegal IL part, right? So the correct answer is A, because when the player has released the king from his hand during castling, but castling on that side is illegal, he can make another move. It's directly from the articles. If castle, he must make another legal move, right? It's directly from the laws. So you have to know that. Obviously, if it's legal, you have to castle. When part of promotion, you have released the new piece on the square. You haven't, even if you haven't touched the pawn, just imagine a situation. Okay, I'm going to keep the queen on the board because otherwise I will not be able to drag the queen onto the board. Right now, just ignore this for the moment. We'll pretend the queen is not there. Right? Now, white keeps the queen here like this. The only way the queen can come from outside the board and you keep it here is for the pawn to promote. So that means even if he hadn't touched the pawn, by keeping the queen here, white has shown that he is going to promote. So once he touches the pawn, the promotion square, even if he hasn't moved the pawn, he can't change. It is there. May occur in order. Right? You can change it in any order. The only reason the queen can be released there is because he's going to promote. So after that, even if he hasn't touched the pawn, he has to promote. Same thing. This is from them. So D is also correct. When you have when you have kept the pawn on the 8th rank, taken your hand off, or even if you touch it, you don't have to release the pawn, right? If you touch the square, normally, of course, there's a small difference, right? That's why this is there. I'll add a piece. This is the position, right? Here, if white touches the pawn, he moves it here, but he's still holding it. He can still play this move. But if he touches the knight now, even if he's still holding the pawn, the touch move is there. But in this situation, if he moves the pawn here, but if he's still holding it, he can, if he want, he can remove the pawn here and keep the queen here, or he can capture the knight. But the moment he moves the pawn and lets go, he can't change. That's why this part is there. The player's hand has released the pawn on the square of promotion, right? If he hadn't released, he can change in this kind of situation because only the touch move is only for the pawn. But the moment he touches the knight, the touch move is there for the pawn and knight both. Understand little differences because those are the things that you will be tested on, right? I hope you understood that, the important difference. Right. This is a simple question. If you want, you can play through these moves, but that's not important, right? This is important. Maybe sometimes in certain questions where castling hasn't happened, you might want to look at the previous moves to see whether the king has moved. That might tell you whether castling is possible or not, right? But here, what happens is you read and understand, then I'll try to explain, right? Because otherwise, if I directly explain, you might not learn something. This is the position. Since this might take a little longer, I'll give you until about 9:46. Okay, this tests several areas. One, it tests, obviously, the first thing is as arbiter, you should be able to recognize a threefold repetition. Second, it tests whether you know the rules about claiming threefold repetitions and 50 moves. Now, the thing is, first of all, for a position to be considered the same, there are 3 requirements. The pieces of the same kind has to occupy the same places. The reason why we use same kind is you can have one rook on A1 and the other rook on B1, and a little later one rook goes to A2, the rook on B1 goes to A1, then the rook on A2 goes to B2 and come back to B1. Still the rooks are on A1 and B1, but it's the different rook. So that's why we say the same. The rule is that, right, the position is considered the same, right? All these 3 things. So the first thing obviously is it has to be the same player to move. The second is the pieces of the same kind occupy the same places, same kind and color, right? You can't have a rook on A1, white rook on A1, and next time have a black rook on A1. So the word same color is also important. And finally, all the possible moves have to be the same. That's why I said when you're talking castling, if the king hasn't castled and if the king has moved at one point during the sequence, then it's not the same because castling rights have changed. Right now, in this one, while you were thinking, I set this up. I think this was the position that was given to you, and he said Queen E6 and this. Now, in this is the position, right? This you have to recognize, though this was the diagram position. This is the position where the actual claim arises from. No, yeah, this No, this is the position that actually the claim arises from after c6 was played. And here, sorry, after this position, right? Because white is the one to claim, right? After queen e3, he plays this move, this comes here, this. And here now, white is claiming he's going to play this and the same position. Actually, it is the same position, right? When white played this move, all the pieces are the same, only three pieces are moving. This, the queen, and the knight. So all these three are here. That's one, right? Then when knight went back to f3, all three are the same as this. See, all three are same place. So that's the second time. And when white plays knight f3 for the third time, this will happen for the third time, right? So this is the same position. I'm sorry, I will not be sharing the paper, right? That is not allowed. Right? There's nothing to stop you from taking a screenshot, but I'm not in a position to share the paper with you guys. So the first part is you have to recognize whether it's a threefold, and it is a threefold. Now you have to know they're asking, right? And here there are two ways you can claim. One is you can claim for a position that has appeared on the board. That is when white played knight f3 without claiming. Now black can claim the position has appeared for the third time. Or what is happening here? White can write the move and without making the move, tell the arbiter, I'm going to play this move. This is where black is claiming. It's about to appear, which cannot be changed by anyone. If the claim is wrong, you have to make the move. Reject the claim has not repeated. This is wrong. It is correct, but this is not the question. Yes, the position on the board has not repeated for the third time, right? The position on the board has not been repeated for the third time, but the white is claiming his move will make it for the third time. Of course, if you are rejecting, you have to add 2 minutes to black. So reject the position. If you are rejecting, this is correct, but this is a better answer. If you are rejecting the claim, this is the best answer, because if he's right in the move, he has to make the move. So C is, if the claim is wrong, C is the correct answer, but the claim is correct. Game is draw. This is, of course, like I said, a fifth answer that was created just to write something there. So obviously nothing. We'll go back to the fourth one. So come on, guys, but you have to understand. This is asking where a player can change his move. Basically, this question is asking where a player can violate the touch move. Arbiters can't tell a player to make an illegal move. That's why I said when we were discussing this, if a player touches the rook on a1 at the start of the game, if you touch this rook at the start of the game, you can't move it. You touch this, no touch move, no touch move, no touch move. In fact, there's a question that Tiwankaya, international arbiter Tiwanka Tisara used to ask famously. There's one piece that doesn't have a touch move, the opponent's king. You can't capture the opponent's king. You touch the queen in not every situation, but in some situations, you might be able to capture the opponent's queen. But if you touch the king, the opponent's king, you can't capture it anytime. So there is no touch move, right? The arbiter can't tell the player you capture the opponent's king. So in the same way, you can't tell someone to make an illegal move. So in this situation, when the player has released the king from his hand during castling, but castling on that side is illegal, it is directly from the laws, he can make another move, right? If the king has, it's free to make. So this is that's why one is wrong. If it's legal, obviously you can't change. So B, you can't make a different move in B. When you release the new piece, that's what I showed the knight and kept. If you release the promotions piece on a new square, you can't take anything else because it's obvious the pawn is still on the 7th rank. You're keeping a new queen you're trying to promote. So you can't. Here, as part of legal move, you can't obviously change. And the last one, because the player's hand has released the pawn, he can't change it. If he hadn't let go, if there was a possible capture and promoting, maybe he could do that without just promoting, right? That's why the key word here is the player's hand has released the pawn. This is the key part. You have to learn to recognize those. I hope that satisfies you. Okay, this is a question. I'll give you about 4 minutes for this until we touch 59. Okay. First of all, you guys have to notice certain things, right? The time control youth game, it doesn't matter too much if the time control is there, because then it tells you it's a standard game. Sometimes it says National Youth Championship Final or the National Championship. You have to recognize it's a standard game, right? If it says National Youth Rapid Championship or National Youth Blitz Championship, you have to recognize it's a rapid game or a blitz game. And from there, maybe see whether the competition rules or the blitz. Now, there's a standard game, so the standard rules apply. And what has happened is, first of all, I want to say something. This is something that has happened recently in Tangalla. I'm not saying this question will come, but this was explained by international arbiter Tivanka Tisera. All credit to him. He explained this question at a couple of arbiters seminars. So I just included this, not the position, obviously, but he told this story, and I created the position, random position from, and asked this question. So you guys need to know certain events that happen in recent events. There are interesting questions. In fact, yesterday at the Battle of the Kings, a very interesting thing happened, and it probably would have been in the paper if not for the fact that the questions have, I think, already been finalized, right? So regarding this, black player picks up the white rook on f2 with his right hand and then moves his queen to g3 to f2 with his left hand. Now, the rule says every move must be made with each move must be made with one hand, right? Remember, it's each move, not every move. So it's very rare, but player can make e4, the first move with the right hand, and then for the second move, play knight f3 with the left hand. That is allowed. Of course, it's very rare because people normally use one hand. But the rule is each move must be played with one hand. And in 7-5, it says what happens when it doesn't happen like that. If a player uses a single move as if an illegal move, it is not remember, these are not illegal moves. Illegal moves are ones where you move a piece not according to the laws. You move a rook like a bishop. That's illegal. These are things that are not illegal moves, but penalized as illegal moves, because remember that it's important, because if an illegal move is made, one, you have to return the position immediately before the irregularity shall be reinstated. But it doesn't say the same for these. For example, if you keep a pawn on the 8th rank and press, it's still considered equivalent to illegal move. But instead of returning, you keep the piece, new queen on the board where the pawn is and continue the game. Automatically, it becomes a queen. If you press without making a move, obviously there is nothing to reverse. You just continue the game. Obviously, your opponent gets 2 minutes. You probably should reduce 30 seconds from the player who made that. But nothing is changed on the board. Same thing with two hands. You make two-handed move. Normally, it happens with castling or a capture or a promotion, because otherwise it's very rare. You pick up the rook from a1. There is no capture. You move. You transfer the rook to the other hand and then keep it on a6. That doesn't happen. Normally, it's very I haven't seen things like that. But castling, capturing, and promotion can happen. Several years ago, there was a video of Kasparov, castling with both hands, right? Of course, at that time it was legal, but now no, right? I remember one of my fellow coaches sharing that video, and I remember immediately saying, now it's illegal. At that time it was legal. So there are videos like that where people use two hands, but definitely not for a, like when only for capturing, castling, those kind of things. So anyway, going back to the question, it's illegal, but there's another part. You can't return it. So in a way, the checkmate stands, but that is not the rule here, right? The rule actually is this one. The relevant rule is not from there, but from this part, completion of the game. The rules about ending the game. The game is won by a player who has checkmated his or opponent's king. This immediately ends the game, provided the move produced in the checkmate was in accordance with Article 3. Article 3 means the pieces have to move correctly. Queen moved from G3 to F2, which is perfectly legal. Queen captures rook is legal. So both of those are correct. And Article 4.2 to 4.7. Moving a piece with two hands is on Article 4.1. 4.2 is the touch move rules. So if he had touched, say he touched the black rook first, then move the queen, this is not checkmate, but because the touch move is there. But here he touched the queen and moved the queen. No touch moves were violated. So this is checkmate. And you have to find the correct answer. White wins as you have to return. This is wrong. Like I said, you only return the position for illegal moves. Things that are penalized as equal, as if it was illegal move, you don't return. Notice the difference in the wording, right? Here it says, if an illegal move is made, you return to the position immediately before the illegality shall be reinstated. But here, the move is illegal, yes, but here it does say the pawn is replaced by a queen of the same color. Obviously, you can't read, but this one shall be considered and penalized as if an illegal move, not as an illegal move, but as if. And that's important because you're not saying it's illegal, you're only penalizing it as illegal move. So you don't return it to the position before, right? So important distinction. And here what happens is you don't have to return. Draw as checkmate. Yes, if this was a situation where this was actually, say the queen was on G4, and then of course it can't be checkmate anyway. This story doesn't tally here. This story is not for this kind of position. Because obviously if this was illegal move, white can't be checkmate, right? So if white was checkmate, the game is lost. So this is just a confusing answer. I can't reconcile this answer to a real situation for this question. Like I said, you don't return it to the position, if right? This is basically, it is twisting the words of 754, right? So this is wrong. Yes. Obviously, you could give 0 to both pairs if they had violated certain rules, but not in this situation. So the correct answer is the checkmate stands because of this thing about 4 point. Sorry, the 5.1 describing the requirements for it to be checkmate, right? Not 4.1, 4.2 onwards. I took a little while to explain that. You guys think of this. I think for this, the previous question will come into play. Think of the answer. I'll give you about 3 minutes until 10:12. There's nothing to penalize in that. The game is over, right? The moment checkmate happens, for that, there is no penalty. That's what I was saying with 4-1. You don't have to worry about 4-1 when it's checkmate or stalemate. There's one instance where, for some reason, maybe because of that very problem, it's not considered. Right? You have to recognize, first of all, this says 15 minutes for the whole game plus 10. That's rapid games. Rapid games are games that are played for more than 10 minutes, but less than 1 hour, right, per player. Right? So this is considered a rapid game, and though it doesn't say anything about, because it says the arbiter was called, it kind of means that it's not under adequate supervision. So rapid laws are in use. Black to move, played d1. Announced queen and said checkmate and stop the clock. Now, here the arbiter, Black has already done one illegal move. So this is Black's second illegal move, right? And here, actually, this is a question. This is not a fair question, because this kind of question is asked not in NA exams. This is not this is asked in FA exams, and this is asked in international arbiter. Now there, for the IEA international arbiter also, there is exam. Of course, the difference in that you don't get MCQs, you have to write the answer. And the problem is, in the international arbiter exams, they say some IAs give one answer, some IAs give another answer. For this, so there are actually two correct answers, right? You could depend, like some argue for one, some argue the other way, right? Here the thing is, first of all, the problem is player X win by checkmate is wrong. That can't be the answer. Yes, player X loses by two illegal moves. We'll leave it for that. He has made a second illegal move, so it can be. This obviously you can't do. D is wrong. And you can't put this. This is not the kind of result you can put here. 0 for one player and half for the other. Right? So D and E you ignore. The thing is, for me, the thing is, sometimes this is where this law comes into play. Where, if you press the pawn or leave the pawn on the 8th rank and press, right? The thing is, when these laws were changed, I actually asked Mr. Takis Nikopoulos, chairman of the Arbiters Commission, about this exact question. And what he did was, he didn't tell me answer. He said, wait for it. The Rules Commission might tell something. And later, in arbiter exams, I know, the lecturers actually said, some of them will give as this, B is correct. Some of them will give as C is correct. It depends on the arbiter. So this is a question. This question probably will not be there for you guys, simply because it's not a fair question. But the reason you can argue is, if the pawn here is a queen, the game is checkmate for black. So white can't win this game by any legal sequence. So therefore, you could argue that the game can be a draw, because it says here, for the second completed illegal move by the same player, the arbiter shall declare the game lost by this player. However, the game is drawn if the position is such that the opponent cannot checkmate any series of. If you are checkmate, you can't checkmate the other guy. You don't get two checkmates in the same game, right? So if white is already checkmated, he can't checkmate the black king. So therefore, you could argue this is a draw, right? But some could argue the two illegal moves happened before, because checkmate happened when the pawn turned into a queen, or automatically becomes a queen when he presses it. But before that, he pressed without keeping the queen. So the illegal move was completed to allow the second part to happen. So some people could say this, right? It depends on the arbiter. For me, the fair result would be this, C. But I know definitely there are arbiters who will pick this, right? But definitely the answer has to be one of these two, right? You will not probably get this question or similar one, right? I can't say 100% because I don't know which questions are going to be asked. I myself supplied some questions. This question was obviously not there. Someone else might have submitted a similar question, but I highly doubt it will a question like that will be there. Okay, round robin pairings, right? There'll be some questions asked about round robin or Swiss pairings. I won't explain how to do the round robin pairing or the Swiss pairing because it will take too long. I just put this question because now you guys are going to get 40 questions. I don't have time to discuss 40 questions with you, but there'll be at least 4 or 5 questions from different types of pairings, round robin, Swiss pairings. Not hard questions, like simple one. One might be they might give you the first round pairing and the results and ask you to do the second round pairing, or they might ask you a particular question. That probably is the harder question to do the whole pairing, or they might just ask. They might give you the first round results and ask you who will get the bye, or they might ask you which player is say if there are only 2 players on 3 out of 3, give a third round pairing, give pairings for the first 3 rounds, and 2 players on 3 out of 3. They might ask when they are playing in the round 4, which one of them will get white. Maybe if you guys have played in tournaments, you have like you all are chess players. Even if you don't know the exact pairing criteria, you would have a rough idea how the white and blacks work, how the players are paired. So this tests that. I don't want to go into details. The round robin pairing, of course, there are 2 ways. One is you can go to the arbiter's manual, or the pairings, the round robin pairings are done by something called the Burger tables. Burger tables are there. You don't have to memorize this. One of the things you need to know is that normally number 1 plays whichever the number of players. In the second round, number 1 plays number 2. Number 2 is black, number 1 is white. That's one. The second thing is normally the highest number. If there are 6 players, that's 6. If there's 10 players, number 10, 12 players, 12, 14 as in the nationals. Number 14 is the highest number. Number 14 in the odd rounds always play the top half. Like in round 1, he would play number 1. In round 3, he would play number 2. Round 3, number 5, like that. He would play the top half of the numbers in the odd rounds, and the last number would get black. In the even rounds, the last number would get white, and they would play with the bottom half, the rest of the bottom half, right? So like in round 2, if there's 14 players, he would play number 8, and number 14 would be white, right? In a 6-player draw, obviously the half is 1, 2, 3 is the top half, 4 to 6 is the bottom half. So number 6 would be white with number 4, like that, right? So that's one quick way of knowing about the table. I won't go into details because normally it takes about 30 minutes to at least 30 minutes to explain the entire table, how to calculate the table manually. So I don't have that time here today. What I'll try to do is I might have some YouTube videos. You can also look it up if you want. I have some YouTube video links. I'll try to share them on something, maybe send you guys some messages, or share it on the arbiters group, and maybe some of the other senior IAs might share it with you guys, because I actually shared this on the IAs group and the arbiters group, and I think they sent you about this paper discussion also. So in the same way, right? So this one, it's easy. In a 10 player, for me, it's easy. In 10 players in round 9, number 10 plays with the top half, but the last number of the top half. So of course he's black. When you're playing with the top half, you're black against number 5, right? This would be the answer, right? Same thing with the Swiss manager. the Swiss pairings, they would ask questions like I said. I won't go into detail because it'll take time, but you guys will have to have some idea because you can ignore those 4 or 5 questions, but then you're trying to pass, you still need to get 30 correct from 35. And if you have an idea about the pairing, if you know, the pairing questions are very easy. Can you guys think of the question for 9? It's directly from the laws. I'll give you about 2 minutes. Okay, guys, this is directly from the laws. And this is, maybe you would have noticed, if the position before the irregularity cannot be determined, game shall continue from the last identifiable. When we are talking as arbiters, sometimes we say the last identifiable position is the starting position, right? That means you have to kind of return with small kids. Sometimes you kind of have to go back to the beginning. Of course, we don't do that. We try to at least ask what was the first 1 or 2 moves were played and try to do. So this is directly from the law. It says a legal move had happened in a standard game. Time control is standard with this and made, but because the recording is inaccurate, you can't identify. So what you do is you work, right? All these 10 moves stories are not there for illegal moves, right? That is for starting position where the pieces are arranged wrongly in blitz or rapid, or 10 moves where the colors are reverse. There's nothing, right? So the correct answer is obviously B. This is again directly from the law. I think you all know. Normally in recording, you have to write the move after it is made, but I think now having discussed, I think you guys should be able to do this directly, right? Can you guys tell me? This one's easy. This is directly from the laws, right? So a player completes player intending to make a claim, draw claim for 50 moves without a pawn move or capture. Your move is going to complete the 50 moves. You can write the move and make a claim. Anything else, you're not allowed to write. If you're intended to offer a draw, you have to not write the move. You have to make the move and offer the draw. Even if there is only one legal move, your king is in check, the only move you can do is move the king to h1. No other place, no way to block the check, no way to capture the piece. The only move is king h1. Still, you have to make it and write it. So this is the only instance when you are claiming a draw for either 50 moves without a pawn move or capture or a 3-fold repetition, one or the other. These are again directly from this type of question might be there. This is directly from the preface of the arbiter's manual. What to do when, actually rather than arbiter, if you are an arbiter, you don't know what to do, you ask a senior arbiter. But the chief arbiter, what does he do? If that is not there in the laws, this is what he does, right? So obviously you can refer it to the FIDE and ask, but that will take time. Like normally FIDE, the arbiters commission at FIDE, they respond very quickly, but very quickly is in the sense within 24 hours. So you can't ask for them. Same thing, you can put it to the National Federation, but the same problem. You might not. You can ask opinion. There is no such thing as the FIDE arbiter hotline, and there is nothing like that. Refer the problem to the appeals committee. You can get an opinion, but normally appeals committee is there once the arbiter's decision is given to appeal. You can confer with them, you can confer with someone, yes. But the best answer is refer to similar analogous situations and come to a decision. This exact words are in the preface of the arbiter's the manual telling what to do, right? Why the laws cannot be too detailed and such. So these type of questions, there's a Swiss question pairing. I don't think you guys will be able to do this. And like I said, it'll take me long, but I'll just show you this so that you get an idea, right? You will get this type of question, or you might get a full pairing and ask what to be done, right? I think international arbiter Sanjeev Anuradha has created some questions. I think it was circulated by him among his friends and colleagues. maybe some of you could have already gotten it. Otherwise, maybe you can contact him and see, because you can discuss. One reason why I did this today rather than on Thursday or Fridays, to give you guys time. Now you have idea what to expect, right? You will get questions like this directly from the laws. You will get more questions like this, practical situations where the law is applied. You will be given a situation is described, and you will ask what the decision is. Of course, the thing is, it's best if you did, like when you're doing this question, your decision would be, don't read these. Here, make up your mind. You decide on the answer, then see if the answer is there. Because otherwise, if you're not sure and you try to think of the answer looking at these, what will happen is you will try to, your answer will be dictated by this, and sometimes all of them look similar, right? All of them look similar. So my advice to you guys is, at this point, decide on the answer, read the question. Your decision would be, you come to the decision, then see if it's there, right? Of course, some questions, like I said, will be easier. Some questions you will have to think, and most of the questions you will probably have to think, right? There won't be, there'll be some questions like this where directly it'll be asked from the law. There'll be some general knowledge questions, and there'll be some pairing questions, but most will be questions like this. Now, remember, there is a limited number of questions that can be asked. Something I tell jokingly is, there are only two questions that can be asked from any law. Either you touch the piece and then the action that is taken, or the opponent is claiming you touched, but you didn't touch it. Then the action that can be given. So always for every question, every law, there are only two questions that can be asked. Either he did it correctly, no problem, or he did it wrong, and then the punishment or the action the arbiter takes, right? Even when he does it correctly, if there's a claim, there are some actions the arbiter has to take, right? So these you have to know. Go through the laws, have idea about this area, right? Know about the conduct of the players. There'll be some questions. In the questions we discussed, it wasn't there, but know about the conduct of the players. Definitely know about the role of the arbiter, right? See preface also. Read through this. Know about the punishments the arbiter can give. That is under Article 11. Punishments the arbiter shall give. This question was asked. If a player with a disability was present, how much time is reduced for a player who has a physical disability and therefore is not able to press the clock or make the moves on the board, one or the other? I can't remember the exact question. So the time is not reduced, right? I think there would have been some answers mentioned in different times, and this. For a player with a disability, there are no penalties because it is understood that it's not something in his control. A player who might be injured or claiming something like that, again, it looks at it whether it's a disability. But for some reason, a player is saying, I can't press the clock. You can give him arbiter, or you can give him an assistant that is acceptable to the arbiter. And this is not practical normally because you might not have enough arbiters to appoint assistants. Then of course you have to give him assistant, but some time would be reduced. Normally 10 minutes is reduced from a player who's not recording. This, I can't remember this actually happening in a tournament with a normal player saying, I can't press the clock, or I can't make moves. I know players who have said, obviously children who say they don't know recording, that's different. But this one, I'm not sure has happened in a tournament. Okay, guys. I could say, do you have any questions? But I'm sure you would have questions and we will not be able to finish this. So the only thing I'm saying is I hope you understood. I'll try to, I'm not sure 100%. I'll see if I have enough time to see if I can make the recording available on YouTube. Some of my past paper discussions might have been available on YouTube. I'm not sure. I'll see if I can find the round robin. There was a video I myself made about the round robin because I kind of take pride in that. Probably along with Tivanka, I am probably among the best to do the round robin manually, because for years at Visaka, I used to do the round robin manually. I'm sorry, you want to show all the questions. I can show you these questions, the ones I discussed, right? I can show you this. This is the only question I have ready. It's not ethical to I can't share all the other question pools, right? For example, I don't think I have a video on Swiss system that's more complicated. In fact, I've seen some videos on Swiss system. You can search on the YouTube, but one of the problems is it's very consuming. I remember watching years ago, trying to find some videos for some other people, and I remember watching some guy doing a Swiss manage video, Swiss system video, or Swiss pairing, and he was saying it took longer than he anticipated to do a simple 3 round pairing with just 10 players, right? Because it's very complicated if you don't know the idea. So the videos are very long. So actually, I have never done a Swiss system video. The round robin I have done. If I can find the link, I will share it, right? It should be in my YouTube channel videos, but I'll have to check it and see if it's available. I remember definitely doing one, the round robin. Anyway, good luck to all of you guys. Hope all of you guys pass. Of course, I'm not sure everyone will pass, because 250 people, definitely 250 people will not be passed. I think the mark announced, normally it was 32, but I think last year or the year before they took it down to 30. My understanding is that at the Colombo seminar, Mr. Eros said it was 30. He's the secretary of the Arbiters Commission and the gentleman who is handling all the papers and everything. I'm sorry. I don't know. That's one reason I don't know, because I'm not the one setting the paper. Mr. Hiroshi is the one who's setting the paper. I know I was asked to submit some questions, but beyond that, I don't know. Like, even all the questions I gave, I'm not sure will be included in the paper. So I can't answer questions like that, but majority will be from the laws of chess. 4 or 5 questions might be from the pairings, maybe 2 or 3 questions maximum, maybe 2 questions, general knowledge, something like that. Maybe a question like who won the candidates, or who's the current chairman of the FIDE Arbiters Commission, something like that might come. I don't know. Again, the same problem, because I haven't been involved in this. Even in 2016, I didn't do the entire paper. What I did was I came up with the questions. I sent extra questions, and Mr. The Erosh actually chose the questions. So I have, and the papers are never released outside. So I have no idea about the exact pattern. Even some questions I only know because people who sat the exam previously, they would tell this question was there, right? So I'm not in a position to answer that kind of question about the pattern or anything, because I know the questions I submitted, but beyond that, I can't answer for the others. And one reason we are told to submit more questions is so that we ourselves can't be sure which question will be there and which will not be there, right? Because if any of you guys ask me, I can, in all honesty, say I don't know, right? So, and also, as arbiters, don't try to look for the shortcut, right? You want to be arbiter, you learn the laws, you learn how to judge, and then the exam will take care of itself, right? Anyway, good luck, guys. We'll stop for today. You guys can log out.